assistant referee, two-man mechanics. And I think the first thing I want to start out by doing, it's really been probably in the last 15 years that we've really gotten into the two-man. We've always worked two-man in districts, in regionals, in the state. We've always worked a two-man situation. And the whole thing is to understand, the head official isn't being put down by having an assistant on the mat. The whole idea of a two-man working together is to make all the calls correct. If it's at all possible, your job is to make the calls correct. And it means working together. It's going to mean communication, talking together. So one of the things that you're going to see throughout this, there's going to be probably a little bit of repetition between Jack and I, and we're going to be going through some things that are going to kind of overlap. Keep in mind that you have in your rule books information about two-man working. You have in the green book the same thing, a little different interpretation in there. In the National Federation, they also talk about how two-man working should be applied. And again, so what we're going to do is probably go into a little more detail as to what we expect and would like to see done. The one big problem that they're having in the state, and one of the reasons when Jim and Toby found out that our last session was to be two-man working, Toby called me and asked, can you move it up? Because we want to get this information out to the rest of the state, primarily so that we can get a little more uniform as to how we're calling it. Because anybody who's worked up in the state tournaments, we will find guys who like to stay at the far edge of the mat all the time. You'll see it a lot in college, but we are not in college. We're high school, and we have our own set of rules of how we're going to call things. And the whole truth of the matter is you're not a hood ornament. Your job is to help, to communicate, to assist, to work in, to move. You have the same mobility as the head official, which means you can move in, you can move out, you can protect. There's a lot of things you can do. The nice thing is you're very limited as to what calls you can make. So we're going to start out here, and what I did was I put together a little PowerPoint. It's only going to be a few pages, so it's not going to be too long. We talk about with the role of the assistant official. Okay, key to it is they communicate with the head official throughout the match from beginning to end. And if you're doing a duel, that means for the entire match, you have to be. In some situations, some coaches, I know like Gary Wise and Frank Baxter, if you are doing a match, they want the assistant to be the assistant throughout the entire match. Head official who he hires, he will do the entire match. That isn't a put down. They want to see how you as an official are going to officiate a match. So, most of the coaches really don't care. They can alternate if you want. You can do 7. I've done 7-7, alternating. I've done every type of two-man officiating. I know Jack's the same way. But some coaches say, no, I want Jack Beard to officiate all 14 matches. Steve, I want you to assist. And that's how you do it. You accommodate the host school as to what they want to do. That means that for every one of those matches, you're going to be focused on that match. It's the same way. You're going to be moving, assisting, talking, communicating. So that's what we're going to go into. Situations of stalling, for example, your job is to, as an assistant, I'm going to watch the match the same way as he is. I'm looking at it from the opposite direction for the most part. And if I see one person doing less than the other, then I'm probably going to bring it up to, I may walk past, Jack walk by and says, I've got green stalling. He may be seeing red. I really don't care. The key to it is making both officials be aware of who's doing what so that we can make the call. The key to it is to make the call. Now, if I walk by Jack and I say, Jack, boy, Red's really backing up a lot. And I realize, I see that he doesn't react. It's okay. If I walk by and I say it the next time, the odds are Jack's not going to make that call. It's not the case, but the situation is that some officials, and this is the way it is, we're not all stamped out the same way. If I'm an assistant and I've got an official that cannot or will not make that call, I'm not going to make another issue with him on that. I'm going to leave him alone because he has to officiate in his own comfort zone. But if you're making that call, for example, if I walk by Jack, I say, Jack, I've got Red stalling, and he doesn't make the call, or he makes the call, that's fine. Same thing, if I'm the assistant and I become a head official, I better be able to make that same call out there on the mat that I'm telling him to make. So I don't want you as an assistant to become real brave walking by and telling him to make a call that you can't make yourself. So you better keep that in mind when you're officiating. The whole idea is that we work together as a team. He has the final say on all calls if he's the head official, and vice versa. So consequently, what I want to be able to do is mention it to him. If he agrees, he doesn't have to make the call immediately, but he'll be aware of it. He'll make the call, and that's all we want. Your job is good. Line calls with the new rules and everything else, with the two-man assisting and the fact that you can have toes on the line, things of that nature. I think it's imperative as a head official that you watch the line. It used to be, I like to catch, I like to protect, and I didn't have a problem if, for example, Jack would watch the line while I caught. Maybe I'm a little bigger and I'd be able to make the catch. In this case now, with these new rules with the lines, I think the head official, for the most part, should always be watching the line. The assistant should be the one catching and blocking. So those are things that I'm going to be looking to do. On line calls, what I suggest doing, I hate when I see an assistant official turn his back to the wrestler to take the shot. You're always better to, one, if it's a big heavyweights, just like in football, you're not going to get hurt if you go towards them. So you're out of bounds, you see them coming off the mat, into bleachers or into chairs, so you want to be going to them and blocking them, blocking high, dropping your levels so that you can take the impact without getting hurt, but also keep them from running into chairs, tables, all those things. Okay, our job also is dealing with illegal and potentially dangerous situations. You have the same opportunity. If you see illegal holds, potentially, you can't make the call. As an assistant, your job will be to step forward and say, that's illegal, I've got illegal, or that's potentially dangerous, or watch it. Those are things. Illegal, I want to stop it immediately when you see it. Keep in mind, you're opposite the head official, so you're seeing things he probably cannot see. So it's very important that at that particular point that you speak up when you see it and try to get it stopped as quickly as possible. And if it's potentially dangerous, hopefully I'm moving close enough to mention it to Jack to say I'm seeing potentially dangerous situations, just be careful, watch it right there. So we can, again, communicate. You can help out on technical violations by recognizing it and letting the head official know that you see a technical violation of what that is. That's a locking hands away from him. There's certain things that you can signal and call. Jack, you have anything you want to add to that?
Well, one of the big things is, for some reason, we're not communicating with our head official because we don't know them, or we haven't talked to them before the match starts to see if there's something that you want me to do to help you out and not be upset because you think I'm calling the match. So you want to make sure that you have mobility. So if Steve's on the out of bounds line and he's catching because the table's there and he's the head official, then I try to work over, say, I got the catch, and go behind him, and then he moves to the
I go to the line.
So he's got the line call. That's his job, the line call. I just get in the way and try to catch. And yes, it does hurt if it's a heavyweight that's going out of bounds and you're trying to catch him, but that's our job, is to protect them from going into the table or whatever, depending upon what we have. But your job as the assistant is to talk to the head official and go, I've never worked with you before. What are some of the things that you want me to do?
Right.
And you can talk about a lot of stuff so that you get together before the match starts. As the assistant, what can you signal? Locking hands. What else? Cautions. Is there anything else you can signal?
Grasping the uniform.
I'm sorry?
Grasping the uniform.
Grasping the uniform.
Headgear.
Grasping the headgear. How do you signal that, Jeff?
Same as locking hands.
Same as locking hands.
Exactly.
Okay? That makes sense?
But
you can't do this.
yeah, so what Jack is saying there is the word communication. Extremely important. You've got to be able to stay in close enough. Again, everybody thinks in terms of, we got this big round, and I'll be showing a diagram here a little bit. But the whole key to it is, if I'm close enough to where I can say, Jack, I have a illegal hold here. Now it's an illegal situation and the health, I'm going to be real loud about my call, about an illegal hold or situation. But I want to be close enough to tell Jack when I see some situation occurring that he can now make the call. He can make all the calls. I can only make a couple of the calls. So it's important that we communicate, that we talk. So any questions on any of that up to this one? Yes, sir.
Just to make sure, if I'm assisting and I see a flagrant, or if I see it illegal that the head doesn't see, are you saying I can tell him to stop?
You step forward, that's illegal.
Okay.
That's immediate, and don't be shy about it. Don't be hesitant about it. Don't even, you are an official out there on that mat. One of the things that I'm going to say, and again, it'll be part of, when we're out here on the mat, we talk about moving on the mat. I know a lot of times we have situations where, especially a younger official coming in and doing it, or someone that's not experienced doing two-man working, they're afraid, they'll be standing around. Well, when you're standing around, you're blocking somebody's vision. Well, the thing is, if you're a good assistant, you're not going to be blocking anybody, because you should be moving. Should be moving in, moving out, moving over, moving around, moving behind the head official. You're constantly going to be moving. It's going to take work. So if you're standing there and you're afraid you're blocking the head coach's vision or the coaching vision, it's probably because you're not into the match. You should be reading this match. Everything is a matter of situation cause the next situation. So you should be adjusting and moving continuously. So it's in and out and over. Yes, sir. On illegal positions, okay, we talk about starting positions, false starts and cautions. Okay, in that situation, this is where we can use our signals of locking hands and starting position, false starts and cautions. You have a signal like this. Don't be afraid to put that hand up and show it when you see them coming off of the, jump start, and again, the head official normally is going to be making that same call the moment you do. Don't be afraid, because if he doesn't do it, your job, because you're on the other side of him, just keep that in mind. You see things that he can't see. You see where a knee is touching the buttocks of the wrestler. He can't see it because it's on the opposite side. So it's very important that you do your job and signal when you see an improper position or an improper start.
And it's also a good idea to talk about what you're going to call as the assistant when they're in the referee's position. Okay, you're the head official. What are you going to call? What do you want me looking for? So if the head official says, "Hey, I've got set up, you've got behind to make sure that the foot's in the proper position and make sure he's not squeezing him with his knee on his rear end," right? So don't call something that he's going to call on hand on the stomach or a hand on the elbow or whatever, if that's what he's told you he's going to call, that's going to be his call. You ask, what do you want me to call in referee position? So we don't have to worry about him being upset because you called something and he would never call and all that stuff. So communication really helps.
Okay, we mentioned technical violations. We're talking about time remaining in a period. This is one of the areas where we get, I think, a lot of problems in, is that we don't, as an assistant, pay enough attention to where the clock is. And one of the things that I am a firm believer in is that you start to be aware at the end of every period, when it gets to around 12 seconds remaining in a period, I want you to start a silent count of 12, 11, 10. Sync your second count to the clock that you're at. In some of the schools, you will see tenths of a second, not just 1 second. 1 second clocks are easy. Tenths of a second become tougher, makes a longer count. But you have to sync your count to that so that you are notified, you are silently counting. I usually use 11 seconds to get myself synced properly per period. And then when I get to 4, I'm going to be saying 4, 3, 2, 1, time. Loud and clear. If you're in an arena that's extremely loud, which been in many of them, where the noise, you can't hear a buzzer, what I want to do is I'll actually get in close and I'll put my hand literally on the head referee's shoulder to indicate time is up. I'm going to be saying time and tapping him the moment it is. Now, here's another thing I want to see you do. By your syncing your time to the clock, it allows you not to watch the clock at 0. There's stuff, keep in mind, we're working opposite each other. So if it's a takedown, a guy shoots and goes this way and I'm right here, I can see the escape, I can see the takedown that Jack, who's the head official, may not be able to see. But if I'm the assistant and I'm looking at the clock, I can't see what the hell is happening in front of me. So what I want you to be able to do is sync your count to the clock, so that by the time you get to 6 seconds on down, you don't have to look at that clock. You know exactly where the second is. So I'm from 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm watching wrestling. I'm not looking at the clock. The clock isn't going to help a call that Jack isn't able to see or be able to make. A lot of these great wrestlers, the elite programs, 1 point's going to determine whether you win a match or not 7 or 8. If that were the case, it would be a problem. But we have too many matches that end by 1 point runs. If you watch college matches, you see if you win 4-3, that's a great match. Hell of a match to watch. So consequently, it's very important that you're not watching the clock. You've already got your countdown to it, and that you at this point in time are watching the wrestling that's going on so that I can help Jack make that call. I can confirm, yes, that's an escape. Yes, that's a takedown. Yes, that's a reversal. That can determine a 1 point win or a 1 point loss. Okay, minimize human error in matters of rule application judgment. That's just what we're all talking about right here. We want to be able to work together as a team, and we want to be able to get the right call made. Jack?
One of the things too that helps, not Steve, because nobody ever took Steve to the table, but I had to go to the table a lot. So as the assistant, if you see that the referee is getting questioned and you're the assistant, you can step up to him real quick and say, hey, I agree with the coach, that's a takedown. Or no, it wasn't a takedown, good call. Then that takes and saves some time, because he goes to the table, or I go to the table a lot and say, well, my assistant agrees with me, that's the call, coach, and go back. You don't have to worry about arguing about whether it was or not, or, well, go talk to him, let's waste some more time, go talk to him so my kid can get some rest. Okay, so you want to make sure that you communicate as an assistant right away if you agree or disagree, and then that way the head referee can go and make that decision and have that conversation.
Yeah, I've told this, many times that if you, for the most part, as a head official, you're probably going to know what the question's probably going to be that's being asked, because there's maybe a situation that's kind of close, kind of whatever, and so when you're going to the table, most likely that coach is going to have a question because it's at there towards them, not necessarily where the head official is. I tell, if I'm the assistant, and we'd talk about it with Jack and we'd talk about the fact that, okay, guys, here's the thing. I want that before you go to the table, you come to me as an assistant, and I'm going to say, okay, this is what I think he saw, because I'm probably where that coach was. And I can probably say to him, I think there's definitely an escape. That was obviously a reversal, a takedown. If Jack, because he trusts me, he's going to say, okay, great, take the 2 off. He'll just say, take 2 off, no takedown, no escape, no points that were earned. And then the coach who's been offended will immediately turn right around. They don't need to say anything because that was the question. He'll go back. But here it is again, as an assistant, my job is to see what's coming towards me and what I can help make a call on. Jack has the right as the head official to overrule what I say, because from his angle, he saw something that makes it right. My job isn't to be the right answer. My job is to tell you what I see. It's up to Jack as the head official to make the final call. So that's kind of how we want to work that. So, as I say, same mobility as the head referee. That's exactly right. We get to move all around. We get to be involved, except we don't have to make the call. So it takes a little pressure off of me. But I think having a great assistant really takes all the pressure off in big tournaments, big matches, because you got somebody that you feel very comfortable with, that I can make that call. And if I'm kind of questionable on it, my assistant is going to help me make that call, and we'll get it right. That's what we try to do. Okay.
Next page.
The mobility thing, obviously, we're good. Back up for just a second real quick. Okay. Proper mechanics for assistant referees are passed behind the head referee. So if Jack sees that they're stalling, that needs to be called, he's going to walk behind me to tell me what he sees. So that in all situations, when you're talking to the head referee as an assistant, go behind him when you're talking to him. Quietly talk to him. That's the beauty of, again, why we stay in a little closer. Okay, obviously a compliment is to be able to agree. In other words, if I see a really tough call that Jack makes, and he makes a lot of those, I'm going to shake my head. I'm going to agree with them. If the coaches see I'm agreeing with them, there's not much of an argument. So it's just something that helps make them comfortable. Again, making the right calls, that's where the compliment helps come into play, and also just helping making sure that we get the right call. And above all, the head referee does have the final say in all situations. Okay, mechanics of the assistant referee. Facing the head referee at roughly 180 degrees. Now, that is just simply obviously say, I want you opposite each other, but there's all kinds of variable room to move. Again, as you read the match, one of the things I always try to do, I don't care what the gym that I'm in, the first thing I try to be aware of is where are my, what I call danger zones. Danger zones are bleachers, they're chairs, they're the full line, where are they at? How close to the edge of the match are the gyms aren't always huge, where you can have everything be exactly the right measurement. We do the best we can. So consequently, when we're dealing with Small gym situations, you got to be a little more conscious of where all these what I call danger areas are. So that means that you try to be 180, but you might be moving closer to a danger spot than you are at 180. And that's simply to protect the kids. Okay, obviously the extra set of eyes is critical to get the right call made. That means pay attention. You got to listen to what's going on. Okay, view clock for starts, stops, and end of the period countdown. That's sometimes real tough to do, but you do the best you can. Constantly begin a period, make sure you position yourself that you can see that the clock started. And like I said, the key to it is being aware of where that clock is. Hopefully you can kind of keep track of where the score is. When 2 points made, look over to make sure that you see it. Go up on the scoreboard, go up on the table, go up on the stand that they have the score on. If you don't see it, then kind of move towards that place, the table, and say, did you get that 2 or did you get that 1? Because a lot of times they miss it. It's up to us to be aware of it as best we can to make those calls.
Now, one of the things that we don't do by rule, but sometimes you're going to have to, if you're on a dual meet and there's a big mat, and the head referee is over on that side and you've been 180, but all of a sudden the action comes all the way to you, and the kid has a hammer lock and he's starting to crank it, and the head official's way over there, and you're standing right here, you don't watch the guy get his arm broke. You know, you just go down, put it, and stop it, and say, hey, we got potentially dangerously illegal or something. As soon as you put your hands on as an assistant official, he's got to blow the whistle to say, okay, we're stopping right now, and then you get it taken care of. Does that make sense? Because you're not going to let a kid get hurt because you're not supposed to stop an illegal or potentially dangerous hold when the head official is out of the site that can't get there. Okay? It happened to me at a state tournament final where the head official hardly ever came inside the out of bounds line. And we have a kid with the full Nelson going forward with it on the edge of the mat, and I'm there trying to catch. And so I had to go down in the state final and put my hands on him to stop the kid from getting hurt. I mean, that's when you can. But you don't run in there and go potentially dangerous or illegal. You just got to let him know that there's something going on. But you stop it. So as the official, head official, you got to go ahead and blow that whistle right now.
Okay, when you see or sync your count, we've already discussed this. This is one of the things I've already brought up. And again, I think there's too many points that are missed because the assistant was not watching wrestling, they were watching the clock. Now they sit there and you read the book, it's going to say, watch the clock, keep your eyes on the clock. Well, there's a time when the clock, you don't want to be watching the clock, and that's when you've got great wrestling going on, and you got 2 kids that are really great going at it. You got to be watching them wrestle. That's where it's so important. Get your count silently down so that you don't have to be watching the clock with 6 seconds left. You're watching wrestling. Okay, so if you can get to where you can do that, I think you'll catch a lot more of the points that should be earned, illegal holds that might be created, the whole bit. Okay, protect the wrestlers at the edge of the mat. What I always say is, again, the big guys, I always want to hit them. I don't want them hitting me. So that's always the thing I try to do. If they're wrestling in close and I don't want them going into a chair, I'll drop down to a knee and catch them here. I won't put my hands on them, but I'm not going to let them run into a table, run into a chair, run into a, sometimes this is something that always cracks me up, is that I see 2 kids wrestling tails off and they're going right at the chairs where the coaches are sitting. And I don't know how many times I've seen coaches get up out of the way and let the kids fall on the chair. No, I want to make sure as an assistant that that isn't going to happen. I want to get my body in the way of that chair. So that's your job to protect. Again, be immediately available to give an opinion on a situation when asked by the head referee. Now, that could be, I have nothing to say about it. I can't offer an opinion because I didn't see what you looked at. But if I see something, I'm going to tell you what it is. That's your job. Again, the head referee has the final say, but shame on you if you don't say something and you saw something you disagree with, because the worst thing you can do is go to the locker room. Boy, I thought that guy really had an escape right there. Why the hell didn't you say it? Your job as an assistant is to be part of a team that makes the right call. So that's what we want to try to do.
And the other thing is, how many of you remember your best calls as a referee? How many of you remember your worst calls? The worst calls are the ones that stand out to me, and if I made a bad call,
Eats at you.
it does. And if you're an assistant and you don't say what you saw, and you find out that you messed up the call, then it just eats at you because you know that you made a mistake because you thought you saw that, but the guy was somebody who didn't really want any help, and so you just said, well, heck with it. But you need to be able to speak up as the assistant. Make the call right.
There's going to be times when you're going to find that arrogance of an official can get in the way. You've done 6, 8, 10, 12 state championships, and you start thinking, I'm pretty damn good, and I don't need to hear you. I don't want to ever hear that be the case. Your job as an assistant is to make the call that you see that's right. You explain it quickly to the head official. The head official can then decide whether, because you're in the right spot, that makes sense, I'm sure you saw it, he can make the change. That's how it has to happen. You cannot, because I've got 10 years, 12 years, 15 years state experience, that you have to have the balls to step forward and say, I disagree with that call. I think it should have been this, and here's why. Always have an explanation. Coach takes you to the table, you better have an explanation, for why you made that call. Don't just say, in my judgment, because that's a bullshit answer. I'm sorry. You have to know the rules enough to where you can explain what it is you're seeing there. So.
We've talked about all these.
Go ahead, John.
These are the things we've already talked about, Steve. We've already talked about all this, about having the right call and being able to bring things to the attention of the head referee and signaling what signals that we can use.
Right. Good.
So,
go ahead and move on up. Okay, one thing I'm going to mention also. If a coach, as an assistant, it's pretty easy, and sometimes it's just harmless for them because maybe the coach in the chair knows the assistant, he's a buddy, they're good friends, they play golf together, they do whatever. If the coach, at that point, he's not your buddy now. He's a coach. So what you have to remember is if he's asking you a question, as the assistant, you say, Coach, go to the table and we'll get the head coach or head official over to talk to you. You are not to be the liaison, you're not to be the answer for the coach. It is your job to direct that coach to the table, head official to the table to talk to him. In the meantime, as the assistant, I'm going to grab both of the wrestlers, bring them to the line where they will, at that point in time, they'll stand there. And if one says, can I get a drink of water? If you say, yeah, you get a drink, but I want the other guy, you tell the other wrestler, he also can get a drink, come right straight back. Okay? Don't tell one person one that the other can't do. So, but the key to it is your job primarily is to bring him to the center, you stand right there while the head official talks to the coach. Okay? Let's go to the diagrams now. Okay, what I'm showing here, I want to bring that up just a little bit there, if you can. Okay, the red dot, referee, this is the neutral position. The red dot represents where the head official is. The blue dot represents where the assistant. I'll try to use there's the assistant there on the line here to start. This is where the head official stands. Now, one of the things I like to do is if between the lines, I'm going to put, everybody, we say lean in here. One of the problems that you might run into, two elite wrestlers are going to time your jump or your move, and they're going to shoot across, and the odds are you might end up, when you blow the whistle, not get out of the way quickly enough because they're on the whistle. You're hanging in there. So I'm going to recommend you put your foot on the line, put your arm in, the same motion, bring your hand back. That way, if somebody fires on time on the line, he's not running into you, and you're not interrupting the wrestlers. I've had that explained to me by many coaches that have said you're actually getting in the way by putting your leg and knees, all that in the way. I don't mind having a leg there. If somebody jumps, they'll run into my leg, but I don't want them running into my arm because that means that you're slow getting out. So just something there. Now, notice over here where my position is. If my head official is, what I'm always looking, he's there, I'm going to be on one side or the other in there. So assistant's on the line.
So why aren't you 180? Why aren't you in front of the head table?
Well, the head table is here, so I can see, in that particular case there, I can watch him and kind of watch the head table at the same time.
Right. And the head table can see him blow his whistle, ready to go, right?
Correct.
So we don't want to be 180. It's not a 180 truism. You got to be there when it is advantage and you're not bothering somebody else. And we got to move. As an assistant, we got to move. Don't show that you are disinterested in the match. Like you're too good to be the assistant. The fans don't like that. The coaches don't like that. And then they go, well, why are we having an assistant? All you do is stand out there and act like you don't want to be there.
Right.
So.
Let's go to the next frame. Okay, this is something that is, okay, here's the head official. He can be there or he can be lined up there. Now, if you notice, if I'm here, here's my head official, the assistant is almost, I'm using the term 90 degrees because anyway, the key to it, if you notice, I have a range of motion. I can see from his feet to the top of his head here, everything on this side. From this guy here, I'm probably blocking you guys over here. On this side, I can see everything on the inside here that the head official is supposed to see. What he can't see is, let's say, if a knee is touching his buttocks or his shoe off the top wrestler is touching the foot. So by doing that, my guy, as the assistant, I should be able to see. I don't have to worry about the hands on the navel or the elbow because I'm opposite. So in this particular case, I can see whether there's a knee touching buttocks or a foot touching the thing or a foul start, something like that. If he's on the other side, you switch sides. This guy here, the head official, dictates whether you hustle over to here or you hustle over to here. So you're over here by this line here to start. If the head official's here, I want him over here, so that I can see opposite what the other person sees. So let's go to the next one. Okay, here's where the biggest problem I think I see when I'm observing officials. What I've done here, unfortunately, there's actually I've done this probably with Kendall on several of the guys. What I do is I break this mat down into 4 quadrants. And if you are down, this is mat wrestling going on here. Now again, here's my wrestler. He's down here. Here's the line. Where I want the head official, I'd like to have him on the line, observing whatever's going on here. if the assistant, I want him, in this particular case, if there is some kind of obstacle, chairs, tables, scoreboards, whatever is in the way over here, I want that assistant to position himself so he's protecting the wrestler from going into these obstacles. I just threw a box in here. If there's no obstacle in the way and you got a huge mat, then you don't have to worry. I might have him be more at 180, somewhere in here. But anytime I see an object that might be dangerous, like a wall, like a table, I want the assistant to come right over here to protect. He can still see what's over here. He can see everything that's happening here. And that way we work in quadrants. I'm working in a fourth of this map because that's where the wrestling is. If you're over here, you're at 180, which is fine, but you're useless. There's not a damn thing you can do if you're here, here, or here. If there's a situation that's going on, you're certainly not going to be able to protect. You're not going to be able to get over here in any way, help out. So again, by moving in, loud environments force you to communicate better. If Jack and I were doing a big match, we're going to be in here fairly close so we can talk in a normal voice, still be heard, be able to step in and help. You want to be able to change your levels up and down, whether you're the assistant or the head official. I want you to be able to feel like you can get up and down and move around so that you can be active. And the more active it looks, I think it really helps sell the calls, especially tough call situations become very critical. So, like I said, everything's 180 degrees, that's what they tell you. But there's no use for you being out on the mat. None. So think about these mats in sense of a four quadrants. If wrestling's happening here, that's where I want both of you. Same way here, same way here. Objects that are in the way, you're going to be moving accordingly. But that's basically it. Jack, you want to throw in anything in there?
No, that's good.
Any questions now?